Welcome to Labor Lounge Podcast. I'm Anthony Abrantes, Assistant Executive Secretary Treasurer of the Eastern Atlantic States Regional Council of Carpenters, the Carpenters Union.
And I'm Cindy Williams, Executive Director of the CCT. Together as your co-hosts, we'll explore the world of organized labor, bringing you behind-the-scenes stories and insights from inspiring union leaders, dedicated partners, and community change makers. In each episode, we dive into authentic conversation to uncover what unions are really about beyond the headlines and the myths.
Whether you're new to the movement or a union ally, our conversation, showcasing diverse voices and real-life stories, will explore union hurdles, triumphs, labor's rich history, its role in workforce development, all while shedding light on how unions create lasting change and foster economic growth and creating generational wealth.
Join us as we build a broader coalition, elevate future generations, and showcase how unions contribute to creating a positive cultural legacy.
Tune in, get informed, and find out how organized labor is making a difference.
Today we're joined by Jack Kocsis Jr., who is Chief Executive Officer of the Associated Construction Contractors of New Jersey, ACCNJ. ACCNJ represents contractor members engaged in commercial, institutional, and industrial building construction and heavy highway, marine site development, and utility construction. For more than 35 years, Jack has led the association and has been directly involved in labor negotiations statewide with the general construction trades. He serves on a variety of labor management boards and committees, including co-chair of the benefit funds of the Eastern Atlantic States Regional Council of Carpenters. He also serves as a management trustee on numerous union fringe benefit funds. Jack is active in public policy initiatives and government affairs. He formerly served as director of the New Jersey Economic Development Authority Board and the New Jersey School Construction Corporation Board. Recognized as a leader in the New Jersey construction industry, Jack currently serves as the treasurer of the New Jersey Infrastructure Bank, a member of the New Jersey Transportation Trust Fund Authority, and as a member of the Moles. Welcome, Jack.
Great to be here.
Morning, Jack.
Happy to have you here.
And as Cindy mentioned, you've been at the helm for ACCNJ for 35 years. I mean, tell us a little bit about how you got to labor relations and construction and what's inspired you, because this is a challenging industry, a lot of personalities, a lot of egos. Yep. What keeps continuing to inspire you?
Oh, it's all loaded up. Let me, I guess I'll start. I come from a middle class family, right? My dad was a union machinist, and my mother was a teacher's aide, right? So I grew up in a unionized household. But as you know, being a middle class, 3 kids, they struggled. Mm-hmm. And they were paycheck to paycheck, so I always had to work, right? And I wanted to go to college, so I worked through high school, through college, and it was construction. Mm-hmm. It was all construction. I worked on a framing crew. That's where I honed my carpentry skills.
I didn't know that.
Right? So I did that for a lot of years. I operated a dump truck. I was a dump truck operator. One time I was actually a Teamster. Had a Teamster book. And I worked for a blasting contractor, mm-hmm. right? And he was non-union, now union, right? But so I was exposed. I was involved in all of it, and quite frankly, I made enough money that while I was in college, and there's a point to telling you all this, right? So I was in college. I had money, worked construction. It was a good industry, obviously. I toward the end of college, I'd buy a house. That I owned by myself before I got married, and my next door neighbor was a gentleman. His name was Roger Simons, and Roger was the New Jersey director of NECA, the National Electrical Contractors. And we were having a beer one day, and he said, "You happy with what you're doing?" I said, "Well, I was struggling, but it's all good. I'd like to maybe see what's out there in the world and in construction." And he said, "Well, I might have an opportunity for you. The Building Contractors Association is looking for somebody to come aboard, a young person that has some experience in construction that can grow with the organization." So I went for an interview, and that was 37, going on 38 years ago, mm-hmm. right? I get hired, and I go to work for, then it was the Building Contractors Association before we merged. And I was there for 2 years. He got involved immediately, just kind of as a gopher, paper pusher with negotiations. And there were a couple years, and the board decided they weren't happy with the executive director. And quite frankly, we didn't really have the strongest relationship either. But they let him go, and they turned to this 23, 4-ish year-old kid, and they said, "Hey, we'll give you 6. First of all, do you want to take a shot at the job?" And of course, I said, "Yeah, I'll take a shot." They said, "We'll give you 6 months, and if you're progressing, then we'll give you the job." Well, 6 months later, they handed me the keys, and I've had them in my hands ever since. So that's how it started, right? It's a lot of luck, right? But you try to take advantage of your opportunities. We all have, right? That's why we are where we are. And that's how I really started in this business, right? And have come to really not only appreciate the union construction industry, but to really respect the people in it. Because what I've seen, and now that you have some years under your belt and you touch a lot of people, you touch a lot of different industries, a lot of different ways people do things. Nobody does it like the people in our business. We have some really great people, and you don't. There's not, quite frankly, there's not a lot of bullshit, right?
Yeah.
People are real direct, and you as long as you learn how to listen right, you can really make some great strides and do some good things and help a lot of people.
And there's not a lot of industries that actually have like the white collar back office side that coordinates with the blue collar side. Very rare.
No, it's a really unique. Look, the scope of what you can get involved in construction, like you're saying, is just amazing.
So 40 years of relationships. That's incredible. And our industry is like a tell it like it is industry. You've seen and done it all. Maybe you can just expand a little bit on the construction industry, marine, and what ACC gets involved in. In your association.
We're the statewide chapter of the Associated Construction, or the Associated General Contractors of America, right? So we hold all 4 charters of AGC of America, and they're the largest. They're the largest national construction association, not only in this country but North America. And we're one of 89 chapters, and we're statewide, and we have all 4 charters: heavy, highway, building, utility. So we have a lot of different ways people make money in this industry. A lot of different contractors, big scope. And I guess the key, and I touched on it before, the thing about that you need to do in our jobs, right? All our jobs, because it's a people business. But the biggest thing in communication with people trying to understand things is actually listen, right? That listening is the biggest part of communication as far as I'm concerned. And over that 4 decades, it's really been about listening to contractors, listening to labor, trying to sort out the nonsense from what's real, obviously, but listening is more important than actually speaking a lot of times. And that's something that I've worked really hard at. I mean, my wife doesn't think I work hard enough at it, listening, but over time, by listening and trying to understand what people do and how they do it, and the nuances of all those different aspects, that's what's made our organization strong. And that's something I instill in all our staff members, is just to listen before you speak. And because of that, our communications skills, all of ours, are better than most, right? And as we talked about, this is a very direct industry, so you better mean what you say and say what you mean, kind of thing. And that leads right to the aspect of negotiations that you touched on. Negotiations is nothing more than communication, right? That's all it is. And I found over the years that there's like only one rule of negotiations that I follow, and that's never ask somebody to do something they can't do. If you stick to that, and you're honest, and you're a fair dealer, and you treat people fairly, you might not always like the outcome, right? Typically, either side likes the outcome if it's a good negotiation, But as long as you know that it's fair and you've been treated fairly and people are listening to you, I think it's beneficial. And that's really been the strength of the ACC Carpenter relationship. The Carpenters have been extremely fortunate that you had a lot of good leadership over the years, strong leadership and good leadership. You do right now with Billy Spruill, with you, Anthony, as well. And you guys aren't afraid to listen and make changes based upon the conditions in the industry and how things need to be addressed, right? And that's all about listening.
Yep. How vital to that point, I mean, in many industries, even in the construction industry, outside of the partnership that we have on the union side, most industries don't have that union or worker relationship with the management side. But for us and what we've experienced, how vital do you think that partnership is to the construction industry?
Oh, well, it's critical. Right? A lot of our most successful construction companies were founded by people that were in the trades, right? So, especially with those older established companies, they listen to their employees, right? Look, if you're not listening to people on the ground doing the job, you're doing yourself a disservice, and that's something that we talk about among ourselves and our industry management type boards is actually listening to the employees. You're going to learn a lot more about what goes on in your job if you listen to people that are actually performing the work.
Sure. What in that regard, what does a healthy labor management relationship look like? I know you were the co-founder of the Trust, which is a labor management group that the Carpenters have, that I work for directly under your leadership. So what does that look like, and how did you even come up with that so many years ago?
We stole the idea, to be really honest. The Laborers International, and it was in the early 90s, they created a labor management group on a national level. It was called LESIT, the Laborers and Employers Cooperation and Education Trust. I think I got that right. And that was a national organization that got pushed down from the international level onto the locals. And that's how I got exposed to it, by negotiating with the laborers. And they wanted to include a couple cents an hour in this LESIT organization. And I learned about it. I learned about read about what the bylaws are, what the intent of the organization was. And again, that was right around the time where labor management finally decided that, in the construction industry, we finally decided that we got to work together with each other. We're not going to be around unless we're working with each other. And really, there was a big emphasis in that. And I was pretty impressed with what at least the paperwork was talking about. And I went to an old school carpenter leader that led the Carpenters at that time. His name was Tom Ober, right? And Tommy Ober, Tom, you probably met Tom years and years ago, and Tom was old school. Like, I remember sitting in his office, sitting across his green metal desk, right, with the squeaky chairs, having a tuna sandwich and showing it to Tom and saying, look, we're going to be sitting down in a couple months to really talk about what needs to happen for the next 3 years. Let's talk more about maybe doing something like this. And he dismissed it immediately. But I kept at him. And finally he said, you know what, all right, we'll give it a try. And we created at least the funding source for the basis of the Carpenter Contractor Trust. And then from that point, Frank Spencer got involved and some others, and they saw the value of it. And it became a non-confrontational way for labor management to communicate and share ideas and blue sky kind of things. Yep. That then morphed into what it is today. And Cindy, you've taken it to levels that I never expected to see it. Right? We're doing a podcast. In a million years, I never thought I'd be sitting here in a podcast environment.
Yeah.
Right? Didn't even know what it was a while ago, but. It's good stuff, right? It's, again, what you're doing is just trying to get the message out, communicate, talk about all the good things that labor and management can do together, the benefits of society, all the things that we haven't been real good at communicating over the years. Again, it goes back to that communication thing, right?
Yeah, I really thank you for supporting the vision. I think that's so important to get out there and talk about the good work that we're doing. So this is just one vehicle to do that, and thank you for support.
Yeah.
And to that point, talking about, you just mentioned what it does for society how it's successful for the businesses, how we're creating a workforce that the industry needs, and how pivotal it is. But how do we change policymakers' minds to understand how impactful they could be actually in kind of fostering what we're doing?
Well, I think it's two ways, right? I think, well, first of all, we need to get better at marketing what we do, right? What the good guys do, right? The fact that we're not depending on government for our health benefits, our pension benefits, right? We're not depending on anybody. We do that all on our own. We don't talk enough about that. We need to talk more about it. We provide a living wage to people to be able to put their kids through college and take care of their bills and have dignity in retirement. All those things, right? And we're getting better at it, and we need to talk more about it. But then on the other side of it, I think policymakers, legislators, they need to understand that the real dollars and cents that we're losing. We have a lot of unscrupulous contractors that are employing, for lack of a better term, illegal immigrants unfairly, right? These people want to work, and they're not being treated fairly, and the government is kind of refusing or putting blinders on to the fact that those jobs and those contractors that are performing work are not only taking food out of my contractors' mouths, they're taking food out of organized labor's mouths that are actually paying that for their own fair share, right? Yep. And society is paying for all these other things that the non-union and the unscrupulous contractors are doing, and it's not fair to anybody, right? It's not fair to the taxpayer. I mean, we're paying our freight. We're not getting tax dollars with all that cash going on. It's an underground economy that, and look, I know the Carpenters are like zoned in on it, man, and we are as well. And we just have to, I think, do a better job of not only just the Carpenters, but the other trades of exposing the true loss in dollars and cents and tax revenue. I think that's really gets their attention. The message of us being good guys is one thing, right? It's kind of self-serving. It makes us feel good, but at the end of the day, it's really about dollars and cents.
Yeah, everybody loses with what you just described.
Yeah.
And I think whether it's Republicans or Democrats, I would say that nobody really understands that we're in alignment. Like, it's actually coming to the table together. Like, by the way, the business community and the labor community are saying, hey, these are issues to the industry, and we could be successful together. And just because you're hiring union labor doesn't mean you're not going to be a successful, profitable business.
No,
it's actually the exact opposite.
I think, look, we saw a reversal of that too, and I really think that's because of labor management cooperation. I remember back in the mid '90s where there was a movement, a real movement to move away from unionized labor, right, in the industry. I mean, I lived through it, and we had some real deep discussions at our board level as to whether or not we should continue to support and recognize organized labor, and some very thoughtful guys at the time said, no, we're gonna ride this out instead of throwing them overboard. Let's really band together and fight together, right? And again, that's when the whole labor management movement really started, and look where we're at now, right? We have, look at all the signatory contractors you have. Look at the hundreds of contractors I represent. They're all union, and they've learned that again, the communication, explaining yourselves, what the issues are in the industry, the ability and the just the very direct approach that carpenters, other trades have made changes to their structure to make the contractor more competitive. To obviously we haven't lowered wages, right? I don't think there's any real benefit in trying to lower wages, right? Maybe we have to slow growth at sometimes, but lowering wages never solves the problem. There's other ways you can affect competitiveness, and I think that's where we need to focus, and then we haven't focused.
Yeah, we have such a dedication to training and workforce development, and we have a program called CARP, which you've talked about on other episodes, as a support to industry and attracting the next generation of carpenters to come. What do you think programs like that do for our industry as forward-facing partners?
So we've come full circle there as well, right? It used to be where you had to be a relative of somebody to get into the union and whatnot. And now we're so inclusive, right? I think we finally have come to understand that the makeup of the union and our contractor base really should be a reflection of the makeup of the state. But I think our approach to apprenticeship, our willingness to open our doors to non-traditional type of applicants. I have the privilege, as you do, Anthony and Cindy, to go to the graduations for the apprentices, and you look around the room, and it's a diverse mix of people, women, men, just all different shapes and sizes, and it's really good to see that, right? And I think just because of that we're looking at different types of communities and reaching out to them. We're not just standing back waiting for them to come. We're actually reaching out, and we're sharing our message. We're talking about, you can earn while you learn. You don't go to college if you don't know what you want to do. Why don't you come with us and earn a trade that somebody can never take away from you? And those things are resonating, right? Because every family, has kids that went to college that have come out with $200,000, $300,000 in debt. And then what are you doing?
So you just dispelled the myth about us not embracing everybody from a community, but how do we dispel that? People are going to say, well, if you're a contractor and you have to hire a union, they're going to make you less competitive. They're not productive. They're lazy. They cost too much. I mean, we know that that's the furthest thing from the truth, because you said it earlier. There's some of the largest, most successful contractors are union. Like, what do we tell people that that's all they believe?
Well, look, there was some truth to that years ago when there was a lot more fat and profit and all those things, and developers were different. It was a different development model, right? So there was more fat in the industry, and you could hide people, and people tolerated that. We're well beyond that, right? We're kind of a lean, mean process,
thin lines,
right?
thin margins.
And there's no, and labor has supported management in not trying to hide people in the mix of it all, right? So everybody on a job's productive. And if they're not on a job anymore. Yeah. And that's really the key to all of it. And believe me, the contractors understand that when they're getting a union carpenter, they're getting somebody that's been highly skilled, highly trained, they're skilled, they're productive. Their leadership is, driving that into them. And they know that by using somebody like that, they're getting the job done right the first time. They might pay a little more for it, but they're getting it done right the first time. If a contractor's trying to cut corners and using an unskilled person and whatnot, the number might look good up front, but it probably doubles or triples by the time it's done, because you have to redo and redo, right? And to modify, and that costs money. So the end number is more costly than it would have been if you would have done it right the first time, and people understand that.
Sure.
And I think labor's starting to understand, or at least has in many cases, that the employer's success really translates into the success of the union, right? Because if you guys aren't profitable and thriving, you can't create more jobs, you can't be competitive, you can't go after new markets. Right. Well, that restricts union expansion and growth.
Right. No, it totally does. I mean, it's hand in glove. Hand in glove.
Stepping back just to the unscrupulous activity, we were talking about earlier, if there's one thing that you can change, be it lawmaking, what would it be, to combat some of this issue that we're having in construction?
I mean, we're very fortunate and we've worked together on this legislatively to really have some extremely strong labor and business laws in New Jersey. We have some of the strongest in the country. Doesn't mean anything if you're not enforcing them. And again, it goes back to the political will to actually enforce what we have on the books. Our contractors, they live by the letter of the law every day. So it's not that you're punishing them in any way. They're already walking the line. It's the people that aren't walking the line that we really need to push our lawmakers, our policymakers to go after. And it goes back to the loss of tax revenue and the benefit to society and all the things we talked about earlier. But if I had a magic wand, it would be just really motivating the people that have the ability to enforce to go out and actually enforce.
And we've mentioned stiffer penalties too, because some of these
it's pennies on
penalties,
$1.
They're pennies.
Yeah, there are. But I tell you, and I don't disagree with raising penalties or trying to deter people. But at the end of the day, If you start really enforcing the laws we have, regardless of the penalties, then people are nervous about what they do, and quite frankly, having a DOL go after somebody, Department of Labor go after somebody, they need to be connected to the Treasury, and they need to be connected to taxation. All these things need to be connected together, and there's I don't even know if they have the same computer systems down in Trenton, right? They should, they all should just automatically connect, and they don't. So again, if we could change it all, it would be to be able to connect all the appropriate agencies. That if you're a bad guy, you're a bad guy.
Yeah.
Right. So you're a bad guy. You should be punished to the full extent.
Yeah. It's about changing the culture, right?
It
so
is.
people change their business model. And ideally we want them to be union, but if the reality is as long as they're playing by the rules, we feel very comfortable that we're going to be competitive.
Absolutely.
Totally. I mean, I agree. I mean, it really shouldn't be a union, non-union issue, a debate. It should just be about, doing the right thing or not doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it levels the playing field, just being able to have that,
Yep.
competitive market be looked at.
So Jack, in your 35 plus years, how would you define, and it could be one of the same, personal and professional success in your eyes? How do you define that?
Wow. So that's I don't know. I never really thought about that. Right. I guess success would be the ability to make positive change. Right. That's really what we're all about. Right. There's no I in team. Right. So we work as a big team, and a success, in my view, is just making these incremental changes, how big or small they are, that really means something to people, and it does something better, right?
Yep.
We all the old adage that you want to leave it better than you found it, right? That's really the success of it, right? Leaving it a little bit better than you found it.
Yeah.
Well, we certainly appreciate your partnership over the years, and I hope you have a few good more years in you, to be out here in the industry working on our behalf. We really appreciate you coming aboard today.
Don't let the gray hair fool you. I'll be around a little bit.
And we thank you for the partnership, because we've really exposed and showcased how employers and unions can work collectively and both thrive and be successful, and we'll continue to do that into the future.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity, and it's a two-way street, and you all and your leadership have always been totally open to discussion about the changes that we need to make, and one thing about the negotiation process, right? And this is I didn't say it before, but we negotiate every day, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so it doesn't wait till a couple months before the expiration date. I mean, we're probably negotiating right now. We don't know it, right? Ian?
Yep, absolutely.
All right, good deal. Right. But I really appreciate the partnership as well.
Thank you, Jack.
You.
All right, sure thing.